Well, hey everybody, how you doing tonight? It's Carpo. I'm gonna move this camera just here, using my cell phone, and it's precariously balanced. So my question I'm gonna propose tonight. No, rather the statement I'm going to propose is love is not the answer. I don't mean that seriously, but I do mean, I feel like we've taken this idea of love to be some kind of divine completion of our souls, that this unconditional love for everything and everyone is somehow the be-all, end-all of being a human. Is it? Trying to word this without sounding too, harsh towards anybody, because I'm not trying to pick on those people who promote love and tolerance and acceptance, because I forgot there was hash in there. Sorry. Because I'm one of them. I'm one of those people who promotes love and tolerance and acceptance and wants to see a world where people get along and people care about one another, where we feel like we're loved and cared for, and that everything can just be okay. Now that's maybe my ideal, but not my realist view, because I know that when I visualize this world of people who are happy, dancing, whatever you want to visualize a world of love, unconditional love as, I see a balance being destroyed between love and hate. And I don't want to mean love and hate as opposites. And I was thinking about this earlier heavily, like, love and hate are not opposites. But we determine them to be opposites merely because one is an extremely strong feeling of goodness towards someone, and another one is an extremely strong feeling of badness towards someone. Now remember, we're putting human values on good and bad, so we're determining what a bad feeling is. Now let me give you an example. If someone does something horrible to someone else, one person's approach may be to say, well, that person needs help and needs love, and it's not their fault. Even, it's their fault, but it's not, it's something that they, that rather than harping on them about it, something that we need to improve and help. Kind of like when the kids of today cause problems, we need to assist them rather than punish them. And a lot of times this is true. This is like treatment centers as opposed to putting people in prison. But when people do stupid shit, they need to be put in their place. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's just the epitome of righteousness, is being able to confront an issue and actually speak your mind about it without feeling like you're having to hide because your emotion about it may not be accepted by the group. In other words, if I go into a group of very, let's say, I don't want to associate anybody with particular groups, but let's say I went to some sort of a chakra workshop or something, and I heard somebody make a claim in there that, well, this is a fact that if you do this, then it will, raise your vibrational level, I would question that and say, hey, this is speculation. I'd like to see evidence of this. And people may say, oh, hey, you're just being a skeptic. You just can't accept the fact that that this is true. And love, I feel like, is the same way. Like, when people talk about love, it just becomes a word that means nothing. If you want to put the definition of New Age community on it, they've turned love into a joke. In other words, love is something that's reserved for people and things and existences and conditions which deserve it and warrant it. Like, you can love a person. You can't love a car, but people think they do. I love my car, I love my house, but that's not love. That's just attachment. There's a huge difference. But then again, it brings up the question: is love attachment in itself? And this is the question that comes up: is love something that we desire merely because it makes us feel good? Of course, we all want love in our lives, but what about the hate? What about the disruption? What about the opposing force of love, which is, it's not hate. It's maybe unhappiness, discomfort. I don't know. I guess I don't believe in opposites, but I do believe in a union of opposites, which creates a two-sided coin. Love and hate are the two sides of the same coin. They're extreme emotions towards someone for either a good or bad thing or feeling that you have towards them. If we're ignoring hate, it's no better than ignoring our true nature. And I don't mean hate like hateful and hating people. I guess I should use a word more, more benign, like I can't think of one. I mean, this is a difficult one. You have love, but without a counter to understand what love is. Can love exist? In other words, can unconditional love exist by itself without any negative, what we consider negative emotions? Can you understand love without having hate? Can you understand happiness without having unhappiness? Can you understand contentment without having jealousy? Can you understand humility without having greed and arrogance? If everyone on earth was humble and shared everything, then it wouldn't be an attribute we considered a value. You see what I mean? If it was something that people just did naturally, then it wouldn't be a value. A person with integrity would just be a person. So we wouldn't have definitions like this is a good person or this guy contributes a lot to society. It would just be the norm. But it's not the norm, so those people stand out. The people who hate strongly stand out, and they're always remembered. People, who have killed and murdered mass amounts of people in the name of ignorance, religion, power, control, whatever it is. But the people who have loved unconditionally are also remembered. The ones who have tolerated and accepted. So at the two extremes, we remember the heroes and the villains, and they become archetypes in our movies and our books. And which brings to mind, how we associate with the archetypes in the movies. And a lot of people by now understand the movie system and how it works. Movies aren't just made. A person doesn't just write down a plot line out of the blue. There are rules. If you ever get a chance, go Google rules to writing a children's book, because I considered writing kids' books once. And it's a list of rules you have to follow. The villain can never win. You can have bad guys, but they can never touch the child. There's all these rules. And in book writing, it's the same way. And in movie making, it's the same way. So when the bad guy wins in the end, or when there's no real resolution, or the plot line doesn't carry any type of, climax, you may not even notice it, but something you walk away from the movie thinking, that sucked. There's something wrong about that. That's a feeling of the way the story should be, and it's not just based on the way we think movies should be at all. It's based on our subconscious knowledge of how the world should be. The good guys should win. But without the bad guys, there's no good guys at all. I guess everything that I've said in this 10-minute video here has basically just come down to one thing: balance. And it's that simple. You know, the Buddhist principle of balance. Not duality. You know, I don't believe that, I don't really want to get into the debate of duality, because I don't believe in a dualistic nature as in black and white, that there's equal parts of evil and good in the world, and that's that. It just doesn't make sense to me, you know. Can I say I don't believe in evil? I guess I can, but I believe in a union of opposites, which creates the whole. So opposing forces means that if there really are angels, then there really have to be demons. If there really is a positive force, there has to be a negative force. And this is what leads people to believe that there are things like the devil. And I can understand that. I can understand the relation that they must have, this complete cycle, this yin-yang. You know, the yin-yang symbol we associate with, you know, Chinese culture, but honestly it was found hundreds of years before that in Roman cultures on their shields. Many of these old symbols go back to even times before that. They are ideas of balance and intertwined, and an understanding, an archetypal understanding that people have of the world around them, that we seem to have lost, but we're starting to regain. And I don't think that any major portion of society ever had any major awareness of what it means to be alive, or these secrets about love, and, you know, what is the secret to life? You know, I could sit here and say, well, I know what it means to be a good person. I know what it means to live, and this is what you should do, and this is what I do, but it means nothing to you. In your life, you apply whatever works for you as an individual. And that's all we can do. You know, we can't. So when we take these ideas about love and acceptance, and we turn them into unconditional things. This is kind of like a guy, Gabriel Kundalini, one of the guys I talk with him sometimes. He does videos about random stuff, like, you know, spiritual things, and we were talking about this whole idea of balance, and each person has, I guess, their own interpretation of what we're supposed to be doing here. I don't remember what I was going to say about Gabriel, so I'm just going to bypass that one. There was something that we had a conversation about, you know, but it slipped my mind. I'll move on. I found that having conversations with people about, now I remembered, of course. He made a video where he was talking about how, you know, should we ignore these negative emotions, and he agrees. He understands, because he's kind of involved in the New Age movement. He's interested in that stuff, but he's not. But he has this. He kind of doesn't hide his dry attitude. It's right out in the open, but he's more tolerant than I am, because I have little patience for those people who claim to know the truth. For example, you know, he's interested in people like Teal Swan. You know, he's the one who got me, you know, interested in me in A.J. Miller, the guy who claims to be Jesus Christ. And, you know, got me making a video about the guy too. It's like, who is this guy claiming to be Jesus, and why it's damaging to society to claim you're Jesus, this kind of stuff. But with the Teal Swan thing, I was just kind of, you know, I guess I'm a little bit off-put by her. And it's not because I don't believe her. And I know many of you don't know who she is, and some of you do, but her ideas resonate with me, but only the ones that I already know, the ones that I've already learned, you know, about balance. But when you have a really I mean this as nice as possible, when you're a pretty girl and you have a nice backdrop and a soft-spoken voice and you make things sound mystical, and you know, then people want to hear that and listen, and that's fine. But I start getting a little bit lost when we talk about channeling aliens and who these Pleiadians or whatever are. Not her stories in particular, but people like that. See, she's kind of, in the sense, she understands that you don't negate your emotions. You don't ignore the negative emotions you have. You know, this is part of who we are. When I disagree with someone, I voice that disagreement. If I feel like somebody's being wronged or wronging me, I speak up, because I don't take shit from people. You know, I'm a peaceful person, but I'll get up in your face if you get up in mine. And there was a time in my life where I went through a period where I was trying to get rid of that. In fact, I was trying to get to the point where I could even drive in traffic without worrying about like what other people are doing around me, in the sense that, you know, when people are cutting others off and swinging around, just like let it go and just, you know. And I can't. It's not my heart. It's not my nature. And I tried to say, well, is this something I need to change? And I started looking around at the other people around me who are allowing themselves to be cut off and, you know, abused and not saying anything, not honking, not doing anything. This is just one example with cars, but the same thing happens all the time in daily life. People do stupid things and nobody says anything about it. And I found that I'm the guy who always speaks up on it. And people might take that as being, well, man, you got to chill out, you got to relax, just let things go. And it's like, I do. That's the thing. And that's what I've realized. That's been the major realization that I've had about myself, is that the fact that I do speak up when something's wrong, I don't hold it inside because I've let it go. When I get angry, when the kids piss me off because they're screaming or breaking things or making noise or something frustrates me really bad, I say, fuck! Get it over with, you know? And it's done. I don't harbor resentment. I don't hold bad feelings. But I don't walk around pretending like everything is love either. And because I know that's not the reality of life. But that brings me back to the original part of the discussion, which is, what the hell is love anyway? You know, how do you define love? Can you love a plant? Why or why not? Can you love your dog? If you can love your dog, why do you love your dog? Is it because you believe they have a consciousness? And if they don't, then do you just love the fact that they are friends with you? Or that they obey you? You know what I mean? I mean, these are the things I think about, the deep things, like what really is love? You know, you say, I love you. Love to me means that you will do just about anything for a person. But let me cut myself short when I say that when you love someone, it means that you will do anything for them. That you will sacrifice your life for them. Sometimes that's true. Such as with my wife, kids, direct family, with some of my close friends if I really needed to, but gotta weigh the options. I mean, would I sacrifice my life for someone I loved but that had made their own mistakes that got them killed? You know, a person who just would not stop doing drugs and going out and shooting someone you love in your family, and then you can jump in front of a bullet, metaphorically, for them. You know, would you do that? Well, you weigh the value of your life against theirs, or you weigh, you know, the option of how much you love them. It's a very difficult thing. I mean, I'm not saying that there's one answer to this. That's the thing. You know, you love a person, but you've heard a lot of stories about people who claim to love each other and run right off when something goes wrong. And, you know, I love you, and then divorce the next week, you know. So love just becomes something that people say. Love just becomes a triviality. But I believe there can be no love without that opposite feeling. Sometimes that means anger. Sometimes that means frustration. Sometimes it means sadness. You know, I love it when I cry. I really do. I don't cry very often. And it's funny because I wonder why I'm emotionally neutral. And then over the years I've realized, well, after watching my dad die when I was 15, you know, there's not a lot that really phases you. When people die around me, I hear about, my friends will say, so-and-so died. You know, I'll be like, shit happens. I'm going to die too. You're going to die too. And then I'll have people say, you know, God, you know, do you ever think about it? You're going to, you know, we're all going to die. It sucks. People are dying around us. I'm like, I think about it all the time. I think about death every day. Because if I don't, then I'm ignoring it. Because the fact that I'm going to die is what motivates me to do the best I can while I'm here. If we lived for 1,000 years, what would we really accomplish? You know? Would we lag for the first couple hundred years and say, oh, fuck it, I got time? You know? We'd be adolescents for 100 years. It's all proportional to the lifespan of the individual. There's 5,000-year-old trees that just watch us come and go, that were there when the Egyptians reigned. Yeah, 5,000-year-old trees. They're out there in the desert, just chilling on hillsides, unfazed by the years of decay, the world going on around them. That smells really good. So I want to leave on a note. I guess maybe I'm going to talk about this. I mentioned recycling last night, and check this out. My wife got me this. I asked for it. I said I wanted one. It's a lighter leash, so nobody can steal my lighter anymore. Great invention. Flip. I should probably finish this video. It's getting really long, but you know, I like talking about this kind of stuff, and I like having the fact that people actually care, you know, are interested, because I know that a lot of you can relate to these things, and everybody's so different. So many of you different out there. It's just so crazy. Even if 50 people watch this video, you know, you're all in different states of mind. And every time I think about, like, when I take a toke, some of you are like, right on, token up. Other people are like, God, why do you smoke pot? And some people are like, neutral. I don't know, he smokes pot. And some of you are thinking, God, why is that guy so ugly? And some of you are probably thinking, oh, that guy's not very ugly. Some of you guys thinking, cool necklace. Some guys are thinking, lame-ass necklace. Just weird things like that. Not just visual. Even the way I talk and the way I behave and come across. Some people probably think I'm very arrogant. Some people probably think that I'm very humble. It's just perceptions of people. And that's what makes it fun. It's something that I've learned to be very cautious about how I behave in society and how I talk to people. And honestly, you know, 10 years ago when people say, you know, we talked about the online community or the YouTube community, you know, as being this or that, you know, or I found that it's not the websites. Like, YouTube's not the problem. It's when you get to that area of YouTube. And I remember somebody once saying there are areas of YouTube. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fucking. If you get caught on one video about the Illuminati, next thing you know, you've got all these angry comments and all these random videos, and it's easy to think that people are just like that. So the subject matter that you attract to is going to determine the type of people that you come across. When I go to videos like Manly Hall or philosophy videos or Alan Watts or maybe some Ram Dass, or, you know, these are just some of the people that are interesting to listen to. The comments are always just awesome, thoughtful, deep, you know, about understanding the self, humble, you know, not trying to be arrogant or proving anything. And then there's always one guy on there that's like, oh, this guy's a total fraud, you know, with nothing else. Nothing else to back it up. In fact, I posted a video from Manly Hall. It was called Psychic Depression and Self-Improvement, or something like that. It was from the Self-Improvement series. Great video. And somebody left this long comment about how psychics are frauds and they're all fakes and all this stuff about psychics. And I said, dude, did you even listen to any of the video? It has nothing to do with psychics. It's psychic self-improvement. It has to do with the mind. Being a psychic and the word psychic have nothing to do with each other in the sense of being, you know, some sort of a clairvoyant. You know, and the guy kept arguing about it, and I realized it's because some people are so opposed to certain ideas that they just attack them all the time. Like one guy I had a couple subs who were obsessed with me, thinking I was a cult leader and calling me all these names, saying, you know, you're a cultist, just because I have subscribers, and they're like, your subs just agree with you because they're followers, and I'm like, no. See, that's the beauty of it. We're all single-minded, individual-minded people with collective ideas. So, anyway, I guess I'll let it go. It's been a great night. It's been great talking to y'all. My battery information came up and said it's going to die on my phone here, so I wish you all good luck in life, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Namaste.